Uh, we will collate all the answers in the end and reply back with a Q&A and also a copy of the slide deck towards the end of the day. So thank you for joining today's webinar on BYOD, or Bring Your Own Device into a Corporate Network. So my name is Suhail Ismail, and I'm the Sales Manager at ESET Australia. Next to me, I also have Winnie George, Senior Technical Engineer, who will walk you through the advantages in detail and how to overcome the BYOD challenge in your corporate environment. So he will walk you through the slides in a bit more detail and also the demonstration of ERA in terms of how you can manage corporate policies when there are BYOD devices. So before I hand over to Winnie, what I'd like to talk with you about today is things to think about before formally adopting a BYOD policy. We are also going to discuss issues surrounding BYOD that concerns an IT manager. So, moving on to the first slide, mobile, as you can see, is of course a significant component of the evolution of computing. I don't think anyone disagrees with that at this point. We started back in the long ago days of host and mainframe computing on up in the client server. Many of us then migrated to the web using the web on our desktops, and now mobile is really consuming all of our focus. As we now begin to adopt mobile devices as consumers, we then brought them into the enterprise world. And this is really having a major impact on just not enterprise IT organizations, but also in the SMB sector. So I know that many, if not most of your organizations already have personally owned devices accessing your systems. So like I said earlier, the advances in mobile technology have made it easier than ever to maintain a single device both for work and for personal use. And employees often appreciate the convenience of not having to manage two separate devices. And BYOD is more than just a trend in this day and age. So it's fast, it's becoming the norm in mobile business communication, be it attending to your work emails during personal hours, and people like to have that lifestyle in this day and age. So in the next slide, I'd like to walk you through some of the major benefits of having a BYOD policy in place. The move to BYOD brings plenty of advantages for employers, some of which might even apply to your company. The first of these, as you might expect, cost savings. That's huge. Not having to purchase mobile phones and hardware or pay for monthly service, it can be a huge boost to your bottom line. Of course, you may choose to subsidize a portion of the employee's bill, but even so, with the aggressive pricing offer that the carriers have these days, you could still come out ahead. Employees are also typically more comfortable using their personal devices, right? So not everyone is tech savvy. When you look at certain departments, people are not really tech savvy. So how do you cope up with those sort of personalities? And that's something that you have to consider as well. Additionally, having your team using their own devices makes it easier for them to work remotely, like I said earlier, and stay connected when necessary, while this in turn can bring increased productivity. As an employer, that's a high priority because you want your employees to be accessing their emails, which can be of immediate urgency during after work hours, and how do you attend to that? So that's one of the major benefits of having it, and like I said, it really brings out the productivity. Finally, the apps and the cloud storage now enable the employees to seamlessly access and even perform work across multiple platforms. So that being said, employee use of personal devices, it comes with serious considerations, and that must be weighed and addressed. So in the next slide, I will talk a bit about what are the considerations when you have a BYOD policy in place. The most significant of these is, of course, security. Loss of private and sensitive data, and even the possibility of a malware. Wide-scale corporate data breaches. These days, it's all over the place. You name it. WannaCry, the Target attacks, the Kmart attacks a couple of years ago. It could have a huge brand reputation for your organization. That's not good. So also, depending on your industry and the country in which you operate, your company may be subject to specific laws governing data breaches and the protection of sensitive information. So your employees should really have secure credentials and passwords to access the company servers and all the information. And they should also agree to keep their devices locked and ready to be disabled in case of a loss or theft. So there's also a chance that the photos or videos of one of your employees' phones could pose a security threat. Say, for example, one of the images of your company's product is leaked online. That could have a huge brand reputation hit too. So how can you lock down the camera in such a scenario? So that's something that BYOD can address. While there are limits on how much your IT department can monitor an employee's private device, you may wish to restrict the use of these devices for taking pictures for work purposes. And in the end, you should also get your employees to regularly update their apps, and that can have a serious implication. Always try to make sure the apps are up to date. So managing all of these issues together, it will require you to have a solid product in place, and the IT team can then help determine which types of devices will support the activities you need. So basically, from now on, Winnie will walk you through each of these benefits and these challenges in a bit more detail, and also show you, like I said earlier, the demonstration of ESET Remote Administrator, how it helps you address all these challenges in terms of locking your smartphone if it's lost or stolen, or even shutting down the camera. So without further ado, I will now hand over to Winnie, and he can take it on from here.
Thank you, Suhail. Welcome, everyone. So today, we'll take a look at how the corporate landscape have changed over the last decade. Now, about 10 to 15 years ago, your device to connect into the corporate network was primarily a wired device, a PC. It's pretty much the average workplace was dominated by PCs running Windows. So it was a much simpler time for both the IT manager and the employees. On the IT manager side, his or her responsibility used to be maintaining the integrity of the PC in the workplace and making sure the corporate data are secured. So it was easier back then. And on the employee front, they too had it easier because technically no work from home. And then let's bring it back to the modern day. Now, connecting into the corporate network has gotten a lot easier. It can be done virtually anywhere as long as you have an internet connection. And the types of platform has multiplied as well. Instead of just the Windows platform, we have now seen an increase in Macs as well as OS for mobile devices such as iOS and Android. Now, with the evolution of technology and creation of portable devices which works and can almost be a desktop replacement, we now live in a world where we are all being more connected than ever. So smartphones have enabled us to do more. We were able to always be connected, and it has allowed us to create a more mobile workforce and become more productive. It's not uncommon for most employees to have a primary device and a smartphone. So let's take a look at why are these endpoint devices being attacked. More devices per user means more points of infection or leak. And then usually the security threats follow the money, and this is a well-known fact. So criminals are trying to get their hands on your banking logins, your credit card details, or your personal data. This is through usually what we see in the media as identity theft. If it's a PC, they'll write the malware for the PC, or if it's a mobile device, they'll write the malware for that mobile device. So a great example is the trend of internet banking. It started off on PCs as an efficient way to make payments from your office or home without having to go to the bank. Then, with the evolution of technology and mobile devices, we can make payments on our mobile devices from the comfort of our hands. So anywhere you are, either on the road, in a cafe, in a park, or in a toilet, your device is always connected and ready to use. So Why is the security of your device or endpoint so important? It's because it contains all your contacts, which means if ever it gets lost, there could be other possible victims. And then you have sensitive information there. So you have your loan payments, also corporate information like future projects, customer information, medical records, and even sometimes corporate tenders. And then you also have banking information there. Usually you have apps there from banks that also already includes your logins, even some passwords, and also once you're there, you have all the transactions there. Moreover, there is the user's personal information. So you have your pictures there, you have the access to social media and so on, and the information about the device itself, and also your location. So with that in mind, whether you like it or not, using a personal device for some form of work is inevitable. Most business will have to accept that fact. The upside is that the employer will save cost of providing devices to employees and have increased productivity and employee satisfaction. However, there are downsides to this. And let us explore some of the major issues concerning the company. So one of the biggest issues with most companies when it comes to security breaches is the lack of user education. It's because the company haven't really put in place a BYOD policy at their workplace. As mentioned earlier, so most employees own a smartphone. Most companies have corporate Wi-Fi. And do your organization have a policy to limit the connection of foreign or unauthorized devices? Also, you have to consider, how do you deal with multiple platforms and types of devices? Now, one of the big concerns being are actually system updates, and also you also think about how to manage policies across devices in the whole workplace. You also need to consider who would be owning the device. Because the employee now owns the device he or she uses for work. Now, it brings such concerns such as privacy, personal data on the device, also limited visibility of what the user is doing on the device. So once the employee leaves the corporate network and join an unrestricted internet connection, perhaps a public Wi-Fi, how would you monitor and limit their access on the device? So mobile devices being rooting or jailbroken, which simply means that device has been reflashed to run custom firmware, that could also pose as a problem as well. So it opens up the device to access to unrestricted marketplace, as well as a host of systematic overrides, which can become pretty risky, especially for people who are not careful. And here I have some statistics. They're actually collected from our US office a couple of years ago, but you can imagine the numbers to be a lot higher now. So a staggering 81% of users use a personal device for work-related functions. And almost one-third will connect their device to the corporate network via a public Wi-Fi, which, as we've learned before, can be pretty dangerous. And then also about half have shared their device with someone else. So I'm sure who you share your device with means no harm. However, what they do on that device could be innocent mistakes, such as downloading and installing files from shady websites or accidentally opening a malware-filled link from social media pages. And we have more statistics here. Like, more than one-third of users don't have the auto lock function. And it is vital that you must activate auto lock so that just in case it gets lost, at least you have like one layer of security protection there immediately. The device is locked. Also, 33% of users admits that they don't have any form of encryption in their device. Now, that's scary. It creates vulnerability for your attacker to easily obtain your data. And a study at the US airport, like on average, 12,000 laptops are lost every day. 70% of those are never claimed. Now, imagine what sort of information could potentially be on those machines. Also, 66% say their company have not implemented a BYOD policy. We also face lots of threats. Now, some of the threats that we face in the BYOD business include malware. Now, as the technology evolves, so does the malware and the malware market. Users encounter a number of attacks on a daily basis. Sometimes this could be like fake notifications that pop up on your user's device via applications or websites, or like SMS phishing and scams where the attackers hope to get your data as well as corporate data. So next we have free applications that can be found on various sites. They often look like genuine apps, but are actually containing a nasty surprise in the form of an infection or a malware. Now, there are also websites out there filled with adware and spyware. And finally, the advanced techniques involve more complex ransomware, including file coders and cryptolockers. Now, these can be scareware when the user gets a warning from the FBI. Well, not really from the FBI, but a page saying they're from the FBI, and then telling them, oh, you have a deadline of 3 days to pay ransom. Or sometimes, as we saw in the WannaCry, it's in the form of file coders or cryptolockers, where what's going to happen is that the data on the device, it's going to be encrypted, and the only way to retrieve it is to pay the ransom and then get the decryption key. Now, imagine you are sitting in a cafe. So you turn around and your phone, tablet, or laptop, suddenly it's gone. So what do you think that the guy take with him? What kind of data do you have? So now he probably has all your contacts, maybe your access to the corporate network, your notes, even your message history. Now, if a laptop was stolen, is your hard drive encrypted? Or if it was a phone or a tablet, was it password protected? Now remember, 31% of users use PIN in their device. But then again, you need, if you have no PIN, therefore the web browser stores your password, and then they may also have like access to the network. Now, even after the device is lost, there is still hope that you get it back. Especially a lot of the phones now have GPS tracking feature in your phone. But it really depends on the security suite how effective this can be. If you have a really good security suite, you can remotely wipe the device, you can get a picture of the person who uses it, or you can play a siren, or you can even display a message on the screen. Now, the worst case scenario is you have to wipe your phone to prevent data leak. Now that all data is lost. It would be handy to have a backup solution to prevent instances like this so that you don't lose your data. And also, if you have a good security suite, you'll be able to manage this even if the phone isn't with you or you haven't really found your phone. So, since we're talking about how to manage these things, so how would you do management for your mobile devices? So, number one, you need to start migrating to a management suite. You have to remember you don't need millions for this. And if possible, limit the number and types of BYOD devices your organization supports. Also, these two are very important and were highlighted as well in the previous webinar. Number one is staff training. We have to make sure that people are informed about what to do and what not to do with their devices. And second, always keep your systems patched. So this includes even the Android devices and iOS. And as a start, these are some things that we need to do so that we would be able to protect ourselves. So to practice good security, you can also advise your staff and your customers these bullet points. So number one, don't share your laptop as much as possible. Always lock your device, and don't install anything you won't be using for work purposes. And as much as possible, do not take home files that have sensitive information in them, like personally identifiable information. And use a solution that provides encryption to your files or disks. And as a lot of you are already aware, we also have that solution here in ESET, which is Desktop. And if you can, try to discourage working from home, unless you have a good, comprehensive security solution. Now, since I have mentioned a comprehensive security solution, I just want to reiterate who we are as a security solution provider and what makes us one of the best ones out there. So number one, we have a long history in providing security services. We have a large established research and development team overseas as well. And we provide proactive protection. We service around 100 million users all over the world. And then we have ESET LiveGrid. This allows us to leverage this user base for a faster and more efficient response to threats. And speaking of a management suite, we have the ESET Remote Administrator. Now, I'd like to highlight some of the BYOD features that ERA has. First is scalability. So you can actually start from a small network of about 5 users and easily grow up to thousands of endpoints, and it wouldn't be a problem. And it's also very simple and easy to use for the IT manager. And also, one license would work on multiple platforms, and it's designed to be touchscreen friendly as well. Also, our web console allows the IT admin to connect to the server from anywhere in the world and have all the management features available even from a mobile phone. You also have mobile device management functions available. So you not only manage your servers and endpoints, but also your mobile devices all from one place. Now, with the dynamic groups that you now have an option there to automate your daily tasks, which would then save time and resources for the corporation, because with the ERA configured right, you only need one person to manage thousands of endpoints. With independent agents, your BYOD policies are continuously being applied onto the client. Now, even if it's not connected to the corporate network, it will still execute scheduled tasks, and it will collect all the valid information to be reported to the server. Now, one of the concerns with mobile devices is the battery life and performance, especially Android phones. Now, ESET software is known for a very small footprint on the device. So we have a very small system impact, and we also save your bandwidth, as usually the updates are only around 7 kilobytes inside. Now, remember that example earlier of the guy in the cafe who had his phone stolen? Stolen, I mean. So if that device is being managed by ESET, the administrator can execute client tasks on that with just a couple of clicks. So I'll show you this. I'll demonstrate this in an instance of ERA. And here is how. So this is actually just this is our lab environment. Let me just log it in. So in here, you just need to go to the, I know a lot of you guys are already familiar with ERA. So we're going to use deployment of a client task here, and then I'll show you like some of the features that we can do there. Now, we would usually just go to the, all right, give me a second there. There. I'll just log in. Now, we would just usually go to the admin and then client tasks and then mobile, and then you would already have a ready-made list of anti-theft actions there. So what I'm talking about is actually here in admin and then client tasks, and you see here all of these tasks. We already have like on mobile, we have anti-theft actions, so it's already readily available. And then you can just create a task here. And then you can put the mobile device that was stolen as a target. And then what can you do here? You can actually do a find here. You can find the mobile device so that you can see its GPS coordinates. And then you can lock it, as well as unlock it from here. You can even set it to siren. So what's going to happen is that it will play a very loud sound for some time or until it gets unlocked. So if, say, for example, you just lost your mobile device in the office and you really couldn't find it, you can just apply this policy or this task, and then it's going to play a really loud siren. You can immediately find your phone. And you can wipe it as well. Now, this option is going to reset the factory settings for Apple devices. But for Android, it would delete all the data, but it would still have the ESET product. Now, especially for Androids, you can do the enhanced factory reset. Now, the enhanced factory reset on the Android device, what's going to happen is that all the data will be erased, and it would revert to factory settings. And then once you create this task, you can just finish, apply it to a target mobile device, whatever the task that it chose to apply, and then it would work. And then you can now, you'll feel safer with your mobile device even if it gets lost. So there, I think that's actually, thanks for listening, guys. I think that's the end of my presentation for now. Again, if you have any questions, just send it in, and then we will collate it in an email, and then after the session, and then we'll send it out to you guys. We'll also send you guys the link about a recording of this video. So I'll pass this on to Sahil now. Hi, Sahil.
For that, Winnie, it was very insightful. So that's the importance of having the BYOD policy in place and how it also looks in action with ERA. So this concludes our webinar, and like we said, today's webinar is recorded, and we will be sending out an attachment and of the slide deck and also the link to the recording, and we might also use it so that it can come in handy for you guys to listen to it over again. So thanks again for joining us today, and thank you, Winnie, for putting this together and presenting to our viewers. Again, bye-bye.